So last week we heard our vision. Who was here last week and heard what the vision was? Incredible. We heard the leadership share what God has called us to do as Edge Church, 2020 and beyond. You know, I'm so excited when we did this whole vision thing, and we've been on a process of going through the vision. And when we shared that we're going beyond what we currently know, when we shared that, you know, it's going to be beyond this, beyond locations, beyond Maltbus, beyond Edgeview, Summer Greens, it's like it did something inside me. It's like, I cannot wait to be on this journey that God has got us on. And we said we're believing for 20,000 people. It's like a hectic number when we share that. I was like, 20,000 people we're believing for to follow Jesus and to find others. And I would love to know, when you heard us share that vision, 20,000 people, what was your initial response when they shared it from the pulpit? Like, I just wish I could sometimes sit and hear some of these conversations. I'm sure some of the conversations were like, were they smoking something when they came up with that number? Or some were like, cool, this is awesome, I'm going for this. But if I'm honest, it's been a process of 8 months that we have sat as a leadership team asking God, what is the direction that you want to take us? Where do you want to take us? What is your call for Edge Church? And I believe when we heard what God said and He called and spoke to us as a leadership team and through our lead pastor, the number 20,000 sort of just like went into the conversation. I don't even know who said it. I don't even know how we came to that number, but it was sort of slid in there and it stayed there. And we were like, okay, cool. This is what God's doing, 20,000. And we were amped as a leadership team. We were like, we're going to conquer the world. This is what we're going to do. I was so excited. And then I got home that night and I laid in bed and I went, what the flip are we doing? I like, God, where are we going to see 20,000 people? How are we going to do this? And you know, that's when I realized God spoke to me and He said, because it's a vision that's been birthed by me and not you. And in that moment, I went, yeah, but you know, like if we do this, first of all, we've got parking problems, we've got neighbors, and how are we going to do this? And He was like, I'm going through all these lists of reasons of how are we going to expand to bigger than what we are. And I was going, and there's all these reasons to do it, but God. Yeah, that's right. And I was like, yeah, but this and this, but God. And if we do this by ourselves, yeah, we are going to fail. I can tell you right now, it's going to be an epic fail if we try and do this by ourselves. But with God, when we follow Him, when we say, God, we're doing this because you have called us to do it, that is when He's going to take what we have said that we're going to do and He's going to use it and glorify His name. And Numbers 10 verse 2, we said, call the people together and tell them to break camp and to move. Deuteronomy 1 verse 6, for you have stayed at the mountain long enough, it's time for you to break camp and move. Yeah. See, we heard the heart of Pastor Pedro last week. We heard his journey that he's been on with Edge Church. And there was a loud call of that we cannot stay here any longer. We need to go there. And the call went out that we need to break camp. Yeah. You heard what they said? We need to break camp. We need to move. Because we've come settled as a church. Yeah. This evening congregation, we've become comfortable. Church is cool. We come here, we know what to do, we do worship, and it's fun and whatever. We're not really inviting anyone. No, it's cool. This is a good place for me. And so we become comfortable. You know what happens when you get into a comfort zone? You stop daring for the much more. You stop trying to go, okay, God, I believe in for this, or I want this. We just become stuck. Yeah. And I'm sure some of you said last week when you heard this vision, that's really cool. Daniel, I love the vision, and God's doing such great things, but I think I'm just going to watch first from a distance and see what happens. And then if I see momentum, I'm going to jump into the bandwagon and I'll go with you. But I'm not quite 100% sure. Like, is this all just talk? Or are you really going to be able to do this vision? See, that's the thing. This vision is only possible if something happens between you and me. If there's a shift that happens inside of our hearts. So we can't stay here. The call of 2020 to go beyond, we cannot stay here. But like, what does that mean? You keep on saying that. We're here, but now we need to go there. What do you mean by when you say that? And I know the vision inspired a lot of us last week. Yeah. It inspired us. I told you, we were going to take on the world until that evening. And then I went, how do we do this? What are the ways we're going to do that? And you heard us talk about the 3 strategies. That we were going to focus on next gen, worship experiences, and culture. And that we needed 2,000 healthy leaders that we believe in for. But do you know what you realize with all of those points? The one thing that Every single one of those things, the 3 strategies and the vision, it needs you and me to do it.
That's right.
Come on.
So we can have the strategies, and that's all good. But God's in the business of using people to make that possible. And you see it in Scripture. God calls 12 disciples, ordinary people. He says, come follow me and do his will. When his nation was in captivity, he called a man, just a normal guy called Moses. And he says, come do this for me. See, we need the strategies, we need the resources, we need the money, we need the buildings, we need this, and we need all of that. Yes, completely agree. But God needs you and me.
That's right.
You see why? Because we can have all the resources, and we can have this, and we can have an amazing church and good worship. We can do all of those things, but unless we are reaching our schools, our universities, our workplaces, our world, it's not going to do much. So what does that mean that he's called us? What do you mean by that? What is it going to take for us to reach that vision? It's going to start with a shift inside of us first. For us to reach that vision, it's going to start with a shift inside of us. A shift in our heart and in our mind and then our hands. Do you know what the definition of shift is? It says to move or cause to move from one place or position. And you keep on hearing us saying, we're going to move from here to there. I'm not referring to like we're going to climb into a vehicle and we're going to drive to this location. No, we might be doing that, but that's not what I'm talking about here. God is calling us that we need to have a new shift into a new era.
Yeah, that's right.
Definition of a new era was something that like blew my mind. It says the beginning of a new period in the history for a group of people.
Wow. Amazing.
A new period of history. A new period of history for us as Edge Church. A new era that he's saying, I want to shift you into that new era.
Come on, Dad.
And I so believe that he's saying, I'm calling the younger generation to do that.
That's right, I do.
He's calling us as the younger generation to say, are you going to shift into what I'm calling of you guys? So what does it take to have that shift into the new era? It starts with number 1, a heart and a mind shift.
Yeah.
I know all of us have experienced moments like this. Do you know, it's usually like when someone talks to you, they're usually like a parent or a loved one or a mentor or someone who's like building into your life and they're telling you stuff to do that's going to help you in the future. You know those moments? Let me give you an example. When your teacher or your lecturer says, graft now, work hard now in this time, and I promise you the end of the year, you're going to be fine. And you go, yes, teacher, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. And what happens? You don't do it. The night before, you're like, why didn't I listen to my teacher when she said that? Another one, I used to do this the whole way through university. I was shocking. I used to get my exam timetable and I used to be like, okay, cool, I got this exam here, there. Ooh, these two are like so close together. I must do a nice study timetable. Let's take out like every pen, highlighter, glitter, like everything. Make this amazing. Okay, I didn't have glitter. I'm terrible with stationery. Ask Leandria, I lose stationery all the time. I used to make this timetable, these big things, put it on my wall and be like, I'm going to follow here and then this chapter over here. I never used to follow it. Night before, I'm like going through a whole textbook to try and get ready for my exam. Why? Because the intentions were good, but something didn't shift in my mind and my heart to actually do it. And the one that's very close to home with me, if I'm being honest, is physical exercise and eating right. Grant. So I'm like, okay, cool. You know when someone says, no, you need to go to the gym, it's going to be good for you, and you're like pumped. You're like, I'm going to do it. On Monday morning, I'm going to start my diet. How many of us say that? And you just eat as much as you can the weekend. But Monday morning, you're like, I'm going to start my diet. I'm going to go to gym. Your alarm goes at 5:30 to get up for gym. You look out your window and it's like raining. And you're like, no, I can't do this. I cannot do this. I'm just going to stay in bed and eat chicken nuggets. And you're like, stop it. I'm not doing that. That's a real example. Just putting it out there. And you're like, I'm going to have the best shoes, and you drive all around Cape Town trying to find the specific running shoes, and they sit in the cupboard. See, it's a good thing. We have the right intentions. We're like, yes, we want to do this, and all of us do this. Be honest, how many of us can relate to experiences like that? We all go, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. But there's something that doesn't shift in our mind and our heart, will not lead us to the action of doing something. You see, unless we have a revelation, a moment where you realize that a conviction happens inside of you, you're going to go back to your old patterns. You're going to go back to your old habits. You're going to go back to the things that you just always do. And it's the same with this Vision 2020. You can sit in the service and you can be like, amen, this is amazing, preacher, da 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 da. And you can walk out. And if nothing's shifted inside of us, it's just a temporary moment.
Yes. Yeah.
We just had a temporary moment as a congregation, just like, cool, that was fantastic, thank you, what's next?
Yeah.
I don't want that. Because I so believe God has called us in this vision. So what does it mean to have a heart and a mind shift? It's when we come to that place when we say to God, I completely surrender my life to your will. That song that we sang, I give my life to you, ties in so much to what I'm talking tonight. When we come to that place, when we have a shift inside of us that says, I'm going to lay down myself, my own agendas, my own what's in it for me. And let's be honest, as us as a generation, it is all about us. We are the selfie generation. It is all about what are we going to get out of this. And we're also a generation that is known for being apathetic. You know what that means? When we don't really show an interest or we're sort of half-hearted, we're like, cool, yeah, I don't know, that's fine, I think I'll get involved, I'm not sure, everything's sort of like, We're a generation that's known for that. But it's when it's about us, we care. When it's about our stuff, something happens. God is saying to us, we need to lay down our own life and give our life to Him. And maybe you're sitting on the fence and like I said, you're just waiting and you're going, I'll see, I'm not sure. I'm not sure yet about all of this and what you guys are talking about. Or you're saying, actually, I don't know if I can commit to this because it sounds like a lot of work. It sounds like you guys have got a lot of stuff that you're going to have to do in the next 5 to 6 years. And I don't know with my timetable, with fitting in my girlfriend, with fitting in this and all of this, and I don't know. I'm not quite sure if I can give up that. For us to have that shift of heart and mind, it's going to mean we're going to have to surrender. Surrender ourselves. And there's a whole bunch of stuff that lies in there, but it's the principle of surrendering ourselves to Him and giving our lives to Him. And when we have a heart and a mind shift, it leads me to my second point. It results in us having a shift in our hands, our actions. What is in your hand? You heard what I said. The whole thing about gym and eating and you're doing all of those things. It's only when you have that shift inside of you that you start going, cool, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to go to gym at this time. I'm going to act like this. It's only when there's something that has a shift between our head and our heart that will result that there's a shift in our hands to act upon something. And the same with those examples that I gave you, those jokes. It's the same with this vision. Unless we going, I put my hand up for this. I commit my life to this. You know what? I want to follow this. You know, I'm going to give my life to this. I might not have a lot, but you know what? I'll give what I have. But here's the thing. When a vision, like we've shared a vision of 2020, is so big, it intimidates us. Be honest. Intimidates me when sometimes I lay in bed and go, how are we going to do this? When God gives a big God dream, it brings out insecurities of our own, of like, I'm not good enough. I don't know how I'm going to fit into where this is all going. And we look at a beautiful story in the Bible, the life of Moses. And we know this story well, and I know we know this story well, about the burning bush. And you know, he gets there and God reveals Himself through the burning bush. And He says to him, Moses, I want you to go and free my people. And Moses is freaking out. And he says to God, he says, who am I to appear before Pharaoh? Now, we know his history. That's like his adopted great-grandfather and all of those things that have happened, and he's got a stutter, and now you need him to go appear before Pharaoh. And Moses says to God, what if Pharaoh and the others don't listen to me or believe me that they sent me? And God's response to Moses, and it's going to appear on the screen, Exodus 4, verse 2. And the Lord asked him, what is in your hand? A staff, he replied. Now, I've got a staff here. God says to him, what's in your hand? And Moses is standing there, and I can just imagine this moment, a burning bush over there, and he's standing and saying, no, how are you calling me to do this? And he says, what's in your hand? He says, all that I have is a staff. And he says to him, throw the staff down. Throw it down. Now you might be thinking, okay, that's simple. I'll throw this piece of wood down. I can do it now. It's gone. But the difference is it wasn't like that. You know what that staff represented? That staff represented so much of Moses' life. And you might be like, shame. If his life represented a stick, then He has a really sad life. But it wasn't like that in the old days. That staff became Moses' security. You see, because that's how Moses was a shepherd boy, well, a shepherd man. But he was out in the fields and he was looking after his sheep. And so that stick, that staff, protected his sheep. So he would be able to protect, fight off the wolves, fight off the bears and all of that with that stick. He was super strong to do that with a stick, but that's what the Bible says. And so that means that it was his income. That stick represented his income. Can I actually have that stick again? I don't know why I threw it all the way down there. I just wanted to hit the floor. And so it represented his income. Because if his sheep were eaten, what does he have? But also he worked for his father-in-law. So this represented his job and his relationship with his father-in-law. Now God is saying, throw it down. That was his relationship security. And I said to you, Moses was a shepherd boy. This staff, shepherds in those days, a staff represented so much of who they are. It told others their abilities and their talents. When they saw the stick, they knew, cool, that's a shepherd. He looks after the flock. And Jesus says to him, just throw it down. God says to him, throw it down. And so much of Moses' identity was wrapped in this. To go back to the story, now, remember Moses standing, he's freaking out. He's like saying, God, how am I going to do this? How am I going to free the people? How am I going to talk to Pharaoh and all of that? And God says, throw the staff down. Throw down the stick. And it sounds like such a simple thing to do. And see, that is the thing. It is a simple thing to do. To throw down the stick. That's it. I'm not going to need it again, I promise you. It's a simple thing that God asks him to do. It's a simple action that he could do. I can throw that down. So can any of you throw that down?
Yeah.
And all that he asks of him, he says, lay it down before me. You know what happens when Moses, in that moment, pretty sure he stood there and he thought, okay, I'm going to trust you. I'm going to throw this down. I still am saying to you, I don't know how I'm going to do this with Pharaoh. I don't know how I'm going to face this. And you're saying to me, what's in your hand? And I'm saying, well, it's my staff. I'm going to throw it down. You need to prove to me what you're going to do. And he throws it down and the staff turns into a snake. And then God's like, cool, that was just one illustration I'm going to show you. He goes, I want you to take your hand and put it inside your cloak. So Moses puts it into his cloak, and as he takes it out, it's covered in leprosy. He says, okay, put your hand back in, puts it back in and takes it out, and it's completely healed. Simple action. We all can put our hands in our pockets. We can walk around like this. A simple action that he's asking you, because I'm pretty sure none of us wear cloaks, unless we're hipsters. But yeah, not really. And then he says to him, cool, I'm going to prove one more thing to you. I want you to go down to the Nile. Moses, go down to the Nile, get a jug of water, come back, and I want you to pour the water onto the ground. And as he did that, the water turned into blood. You know, another simple action. He asked him just to pour.
Yeah, that's right.
All of us could do that every single day. A kettle, you pour milk. Some of us pour some kind of bottles, too much pouring, but some of us do that. We all can do that. A simple action that he's asking him. Do you get where I'm going with this? You see what God was demonstrating to Moses and what he demonstrates to us tonight. He says that all that he asks of you to do is something that you can do.
That's right.
The natural. The natural, I've put in my hands in my pocket. I've put in my hands into a cloak. I'm just saying, what's my staff? I'm going to throw it down. I can pour, I can do that. All that he asks you to do is the natural. And when you do that, when you do the natural, he takes it and he makes it the supernatural. When we go and we say, I can do this, he takes the natural, what we think is insignificant, and he says, you do that, and I will make it the supernatural. God never asks us to do the supernatural. Never. He didn't say to Moses, quickly make that a snake, turn that into blood. He didn't ask him that, no. The only thing that he said to him was, just follow what I'm doing. Just follow me. You know what that is? Obedience. It wasn't have more faith, like I'm going to have faith that it's going to turn into a snake. No. He said, just throw it down, do the natural. Don't have more faith, have more obedience in what I'm asking. And that's exactly what it is for us in this vision. Some of us The staff represents identity. We're wrapped in it. We're going, I can't do this. You know, he's saying, lay it down. I'll take that and I'll use it. I actually got such a little to give. Just give it to me and I'll use it. Luke 1 verse 37, it says, there is nothing that is impossible with God. See, the biggest mistake we make is that we try and we do things. We try and we do this and we try and do, and we're going to try and do this vision, and we're going to try and save our school, and we're going to do all of this. We're doing this vision for God. No. See, that is the mistake. We're not doing this for God. We are doing this with God. See, this is not for Him. This is with Him that we're doing this vision. If we commit ourselves to this vision, I so believe more than ever that we're going to see it come to pass. Bible's got so many more examples. Quickly, Peter, he's in the boat, throws a net over, can't find any fish. Jesus comes and says, throw it to the other side. I'm pretty sure this boat is small. Like, it wasn't like the MSC Symphonia, that the fish are not going to go from that side to that side. It's like a little dinghy that he was on. And he says, no, take out the net. Have you ever pulled something out of the water that's wet? You know how heavy that is? Take it out and throw it to the other side. Peter's like, okay, I'll do it. Takes it out, throws it to the other side. What happens? The fish come.
Yeah.
He did the action.
God did the miracle. Beautiful.
Exactly that. God did the miracle. I'm like, The same goes with the little boy with the 2 fish and the 5 loaves of bread. That was the miracle of the feeding of the 5,000. You know what? When that crowd was around and they were looking for food, there was a little kid. They had his 2 fish and his 5 loaves of bread. And I'm telling you now, they were not Norwegian salmon, like these big things like it's carrying around and these big loaves of bread and everything. They're like little pilchards and like 5 little cocktail rolls probably. Can you imagine? Just hold on. Can you imagine eating that for lunch? Can you imagine getting fish? Anyway. You go to school with that, how people would mock you. So that's all he has. This little thing. But you know what the boy does? He goes, cool, you can take this. This is all that I have, but you can take it. Do you know what? If it wasn't for that boy offering to do the miracle, the 5,000 wouldn't happen. But it's just because of that kid was willing to do it. And then a great example is when the disciples go, and Jesus says at the wedding, he says, go fill the jars of water, and I will turn it into wine. I'm pretty sure lots of us wanted to be there to see that miracle. And you know what happens? They go and do it, there's wine. The natural thing, the disciples, what they had to do was just go fill it. And then God comes and he says, I will do the supernatural if you just obey me. Do you see the pattern? Do you see where I'm going with this? If we obey, if we do what he says, the natural things, God will activate the miracle, because the miracles are dependent upon our obedience. The miracles dependent upon our obedience. And a miracle is activated when we do something. Vision 2020 is going to take every single one of us. Whether we have lots, whether we have little. God's not asking, he goes, okay, first give me a list. Okay, you qualify? No. You definitely don't qualify. You qualify? No. He's just saying, give what you have. Follow the call that I've given, and I'll show you. I'll do the supernatural. So what I do now, a very practical next step is Holiday Club 2016. Do you know how many more volunteers we need across Edgemead and Summer Green? Someone take a guess. 250 volunteers are still needed. Seriously. We still need 250 volunteers to make Edgemead and Summer Green's Holiday Club happen. We still need 41 more meals to be supplied to feed all of you guys that are going to be serving. There's decor happening every Saturday and Sunday. I mean, Saturday, not Sunday, you're at church. The need is there. We need the hands that are saying, I'm willing. God, you have called me. It's been a heart and a mind shift. Now I'm going to show it in my hands. I'm going to get involved and be a part of this. Straight after service, you go to the front, sign up, get involved. Don't miss what God is doing and what he has called us to do. See, when you have the heart and the mind shift, it will result in the hand shift, an act. Jesus saw the crowd in Matthew 9:36, and he was moved with compassion when he saw the crowd, because there were needs. They were crying out for him, saying, I'm sick. And he saw the need and was moved to compassion, which led him to act and to pray for the people, but also led to sacrifice. Whenever you decide to surrender your life, whenever you decide to say, God, I'm going to do this, I'm going to lay down my staff, I'm going to do what you've called me to do with my hands, when you decide to do that, it's going to require a cost of every single one of us. And that's my third point. And Matthew 8, verse 18 to 19, and it's going to be on the screens. It reads, when Jesus saw that a curious crowd was growing by the minute, he told his disciples to get him out of here to the other side of the lake. As they left, a religious scholar asked if he could go along. I'll go with you wherever, he said. And Jesus was curt. Are you ready to rough it? We're not staying in the best inns, you know. Another follower said, Master, excuse me for a couple of days, please. I have my father's funerals to take care of. And Jesus refused. He said, first things first, your business is life, not death. Follow me, pursue life. I love how the Message translation puts the scripture. Can you just imagine that moment? Take yourself there. Jesus was the talk of the town. Everyone wanted to be around him. He was like a celebrity, and the crowds were the paparazzi. Everyone's like following him wherever he goes. And in that moment, he sees this crowd, a curious crowd. So they want to know what's going on. And in that moment, he's like, cool, you got the disciples, and disciples saying, Jesus, we need to evacuate you. We need to take you across the lake. The crowd is approaching, and he's like, cool, there's friends here. I can just think of like movies, The Walking Dead, when they have to get away from the herd that's coming, and they have to run. And in that moment, that stressful moment, I can just imagine that moment, someone says, wait, hold on. Can I go with you? You know what Jesus' response was? When it says curt, it means it was short, to the point. He says, are you ready to rough it? Are you ready to come with me? But are you ready to rough it? We're not staying in fancy hotels. We're going to be doing things that are hectic, I promise you. We're going to be risking our lives. Are you ready to do this? And then another guy's like, Jesus, can you wait for me? My father died. I want to go bury him, and then I'll come with you. Now at this point, I thought Jesus would be like, yes, of course, Shane. No. He's like, your father's dead. What's there to do? He's gone. You need to come and follow me. Our business is life and not death. Do you see where I'm going? Do you see where the scripture is saying? He's saying there's a cost. When we say, I'm following you, I'm doing this, there's a cost that God calls for us, a sacrifice. Mark 8:34 says, then calling the crowd to join his disciples, he said, if any of you want to be my follower, you must give up your own way. Take up your cross and follow me. If you try to hang on to your life, you will lose it. But if you give up your life for my sake and for the sake of the good news, you will save it. Those scriptures that I read, when he crossed the lake and now, he's saying that you need to give up your convenience. The sacrifice is convenience. We live, everything needs to be convenient for us. That's why we all love Woolworths. Just everything's convenient in that store. We live in a world that we want convenience, and that's good. I love convenience. Can you imagine not having microwaves and have to heating everything up in an oven? But God says, you know what? You need to give up your convenience. Give up yourself. Give up what you want. You might be asked to serve in an area and you're like, this is completely out of my comfort zone. I don't know how to do this. And God's saying, give it up. It's going to mean three things. It's going to mean giving sacrificially of your time to serve others. It means serving on a Friday, holiday club, serving on Sundays. It means giving of our time to say, I'm going to do this. It means sacrificially giving of your money, because you know this vision requires, and I'm going to just say this, it requires a lot. And as this younger generation, we might not have income. We might not have like a lot of money coming in because we're still in school and university. But do the principle now of giving what he gives you, 10%, and you're going to see how God works. And the third thing is giving sacrificially of your talent. God has gifted each one of us with a talent. Every single one sitting in this room. He's gifted us with a talent. And he's asking us, come serve my kingdom with the talent that I've given you. We need people to serve behind the production desk. We need people on stage. We need people hosting here, outside. We need to do this if we want to see this vision 2020 happen. And that's where I want to close tonight. The three things. We need a heart and a mind shift. Number one, which is going to result into a hand shift. Which will then result into the thing that there's going to be a cost if we do this. Well, I want to ask you the question, what is in your hand tonight? And I pushed a lot into that point. What's in your hand? Because I so believe God spoke to me in that moment and said, For my own life, are you qualified? No, I don't know how to do this. But you know, what's in your hand? God, well, I've got this little. Just give it to me. Because then I will take that and I'll use it. Remember Moses? He had a very little. God asked him to go talk to Pharaoh. The guy had a stutter. And he says, go talk to Pharaoh, the strongest man in that time. You go convince him that my people must go. His identity was wrapped up in that staff. How could God have used him? He laid it down. He surrendered it. And he stepped in obedience and God used him. Another shepherd boy was King David. He was overlooked. He was small. They overlooked him. Everyone just saw a shepherd boy, but God saw a king. And exactly tonight, he sees the potential in every single one of us sitting here. But there's 3 things that God asks for us. Number 1, he asks for our obedience. Our obedience to say, God, this is in my hand, and I'm going to give it, and I'm going to follow where you say. Number 2, he's asking for your willingness to lay down what's in your hand to him. And number 3, a sacrifice. Saying, I'm going to accept the cost of what is called for me. Because you heard what I said, like, we can leave here, and it's going to all just be good moments. You can be like, cool, it's a great vision. Thanks, Edge Church. That's fantastic and everything like that. But that's not what God's asking for us tonight. He's saying, will you stand and will you in this place when you say, I'm giving my life to you, God, first? Because when you do that, he will take it and he will use it and he'll put it into what his will is and what he has called of you. And that's where I land tonight. What's it going to take to reach this vision? Strategies are fantastic. Please, we need all of that. We need you to do all that work. But it's going to take us, you and me. And we can tremble in our boots at times. That's okay. I do often. And go, God, how are we going to do this? That's fine. But if our hearts are willing, if we're saying, God, I commit myself to this call, he'll say, cool, I'll use you. And that's when he uses us. I want us to close our eyes as I land. And I don't want an emotional response. While I was praying and reflecting and I wrestled with the sermon so much, I was going, God, I don't want an emotional response where people respond just out of emotions, because we do that. When we're sad, we put on sad music. When we're happy, we go and eat. Like, we're an emotional people and we often do things out of emotion. And I'm going, God, that's not my heart for tonight. I don't want to respond out of emotion to what you're asking for us. But God, I want to shift inside of me. And if God spoke to you tonight and you're going, you know what? I want to commit my life to something like this, to a vision. I want to give my life to something like this. We're not doing an emotional response where we're going to sing a song. But if you feel that God has said to you, you need to commit to this, I want you to stand. If you believe, God, I'm committed, I'm going to be the first one that actually comes to the floor to say, I'm going to stand for this. And I say to you, I don't want an emotional response. Not out of emotion of, I have to stand now because this one's standing. No. It's what God calls inside of us. So we're going to go where God is calling us. I want to pray for those that are standing. Father, I thank you. And as I stand here on the floor as well, saying, I give my life to this. I commit myself to what you have called of the vision. God, I pray, though, that you would do something within inside of me, that you would shift my heart and my mind, and that I would surrender and then act upon what you have asked of me. And when the times get tough, because you know your hands are going to get bruised, they're going to get tired, and there's going to be times where you're going to doubt things. God, I pray in those times that you would just show your face. You would show your promises that you've given to us as a church. And so God, we stand here committing ourselves to say, I want to do this. I believe in the vision that you have called of here, but I believe in you, God, above all else. And we're committing ourselves to that.